side. Go ahead and grab a piece of paper and maybe something to write with. Oh yeah, do you have anything to write on? And here's some magazines if you'd like something to write on top of. So this will be, I'll ask you to write a few things during our time together.
Here's stuff to write.
Participating or just recording?
It'll be for you to
He's
keep.
part of the recording.
Participating or record by.
And we'll just, as more people come, we'll accommodate. But let's come even closer. Really feel each other. Rafi, you have paper, yeah? You're good? So, thank you all for joining me, for joining us, for being here. And I would love for us to begin just introducing ourselves, our names, and we're here to talk about sustainability. Kara, and sustainability for me means all of us together. That's one thing that I really realized working within the local movement over the past 2 years, that this question of how are we going to endure, I know just through my personal experience that it's with each of you, and that my own just health wealth, my own sense of well-being is deeply rooted in community. It's deeply rooted in one another. So again, just, whatever sustainability means to you, go ahead and feel free to just share that. And the pen and paper is an offering. If something somebody says catches your attention, you can just go ahead and jot down notes. There's more paper here if you need it. You can always change colors. You can draw pictures, whatever you want to do. Hey, Pia, on sustainability.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Were you looking for something specific?
The harvesting?
Right next door. And I'll just pass it along to the right.
So, my name's Marcelo, and I would agree that, we're essentially social beings. So, when we're in community, we unfold best, we're supported best. And I think that much of what's going on in the world is about alienating people away from their roots, away from their essence, away from their core, away from each other. And I think that the more that we undo that and the more that we connect with each other, there's actually a Greek philosopher who says that, life is most enjoyed when you have a wide circle of close friends. And that's always been my experience, that I've grown the most in community, that I've felt the most alive, the happiest, the most on purpose. And I really love this community, and this is completely up my alley to create sustainability. The name threw me off. I didn't know what it meant, but as I understand it, it's just about that, to go forward what we're doing today into the future. So always have one another as a resource, and I think there's sanity and I think there's success in that.
My name's Maria, and for me, sustainability means living with the earth and with the environment instead of like on it and by it, and just finding ways. Like every year, I kind of set a goal to make a change in my life that will create, just in my own personal life and my household, my garden and things, a more sustainable future for me and my family. And so that's kind of, I'm here to get ideas and to share kind of what sustainability means. And also, I was here for this workshop last year, and I remember we were all kind of excited at the end, and we passed around a piece of paper and we all exchanged emails, and then I don't know who ended up with it, but I never saw any emails come from it, and that was a little disappointing. But it would be nice to feel kind of more connected with a community of people who really are like making strides and working toward ways that we can live on this earth and care for it and nurture it and feed it as it feeds us. So that's what I'm about.
But can you share with us too?
Yeah, sure. For me, sustainability is like,
Well, in a way, I see it more technically. Like we all need food, a house, a way to get from point A to point B. What else? Technically, it's like everybody knows how to do things. So that person can share with the other, with the community. Like I know how to build houses, so I will build your house. I will build your house, and you know how to grow food from the earth, so you can share that with me. So sustainability is all together working for the humankind. That's what I think.
Thinking about the word sustainability, to sustain oneself and others' sustenance. It's as much giving as it is taking. You want to nourish your body, of course. You want to nourish your soul. You want to nourish beyond your own personal soul, the soul of an entire community, you might say. So you give yourself artistically. You write things. You give of yourself to everyone else. Food and things that aren't necessarily tangible. And you seek balance also. There's a lot of ups and downs in life, so as people, as social beings, we certainly look for balance and to make the ups and the downs not so harsh, to make life more than just bearable, livable, and something to look forward to when you get up in the morning. That's what I got at this time.
My name is Rafi. I'm just going to be here for a few minutes because there are like 3 other things I want to make in the session. But I guess the thoughts I want to share is I'm not sure how much I connect with the word sustainability because what I think is behind it. I definitely value and treasure, and I know that we live inside the images we create with words, and we create or are drawn to creating those things we create with the images that we create with words. And so part of me wonders whether there's another word that is kind of would be a better word. And I just want to offer another thing I kind of came across unexpectedly on a teleconference. A woman named Barbara Shipka, who's part of this online virtual community called Powers of Place. She was talking about how, as she understands, sustainability is essential, and it's a form of husbandry. And what complements it is what she calls global midwifery. So sustainability is taking care of what exists, and global midwifery is about giving birth to the new, and that you need both. And personally, I wanted to find out more what she meant by that, but I just wanted to add that to the mix. Pick up a little bit dust here, gently.
Global midwifery?
Yeah, Barbara Shipka, S-H-I-P-K-A.
My name is Carol Ann. I'm Kara's mom.
My mother.
And I think sustainability is about nurturing the future, to take care of ourselves, to make a better life for the future. And I think it goes along with this midwifery, and I'm a nurse. So, I can feel for that. And what obsesses me about nursing today, we've lost the art in nursing. It's all about the computer, which is taking over everything. And I think that's very sad because we all need each other. A computer cannot take care of us. We have to take care of it.
Thank you all for sharing. I have something I want to share. Something I painted. It's mainly words. But before I do that, I really appreciate everybody's thoughts and ideas, especially on questioning that word and its traction, how it really doesn't travel. So how can we come together to galvanize whether it's a new movement or just a new term. So this is just something in really talking about. I thought maybe we could read this together. This is just something that, so, want to read it together nice and loud?
It is time for us to shake the earth so that its cosmic ripples sustain us for another 40 plus years. Now is the time to connect what we do, live, breathe, feel, dance, make art, make love, commune, camp, share, grow food, break bread, and celebrate to a local health, wealth, economics of love.
Economics of love.
Economics of love. Nice. Thank you for reading that. So that was something that I just painted in October, and in thinking about this idea. So, and the reason why I chose the number 40 is I was really feeling like now's really palpable time. It's really exciting. What's happening in San Diego is potent. We're coming together. We're all collectively feeling the shift, whatever we want to describe that as. And so I recognize that it seems like, especially in our more popular culture, but it seems like there's this like 40-year wave, you know. 40 years ago, we were talking 69, we were talking about another very tumultuous, turbulent time in our country and around the world, an uprising that happened. So I was thinking and feeling that, and I was like, yeah, now's the time to really shake the earth, you know, come together and create something or do something or, you know, have an effect that has ripples, that rippling effect. Because we're still feeling today what happened those 40 years ago. And yet we recognize that we need to do it again. We need to do something, and we don't know what that is. And so as we've been witnessing, as I've been witnessing what's been unfolding over the last few months, which have been so exciting, the Liberation Revolution that evolved out of Egypt, and really feeling this connecting technology. So technology itself isn't evil. It's our ability to walk that balance, to walk what Leslie is describing as this tipping point, which is where we are, right? Can we walk the technology where we have this beautiful ability to connect to one another on the other side of the globe? And then also remembering to be here now, be outside. And so I really think about like Americanism, and it's been really hard to take part in, you know, the protests and the rallies and all the excitement that's been happening globally, and to feel like a lot of my American counterparts aren't there. You know, there's still that desire to perpetuate the consumption, and I'm not saying, I don't want to say that that's evil either. You know, I'm not into polarizing or making it a black and white, good versus bad situation. I really want us to come together. So one thing I've recognized is that I feel for us Americans, this shaking the earth is actually a stopping.
A what?
Stopping. We need to stop. Energetically, we need to cultivate the place inside where we can just be. Don't need to run out the door, hop in the car, don't need to go buy something. So what I'd like to invite us all to do right now is to just stop and be. So, because this is something I like to do with people, if you can just sit up and let's find a relaxed place. We want to bring our feet in full contact with the earth. This is actually sitting at the end of your chair is best for your spine, and making a right angle at your knees, your hips, really thinking of elongating up through the back of your spine. The bottom of your spine is dropping through the chair. You can, if you need to ground your energy, you can place your palms on your thighs. If you're looking to draw energy in and become energized, you can flip your palms up to the earth. Whatever you choose is perfect. We're going to relax the muscles in our face by closing our eyes or adjusting our gaze down to the ground at a 45-degree angle. So this sustainability or endurance, the ability to endure, beautiful. So go ahead and let's just feel. I'm going to talk a little bit, but then I'm actually going to join you and just be. And I'd like to challenge each of us to just, if you have an itch, see if you can just ignore it. See if you can really challenge yourself to just be here and not be distracted, not be pulled away by thoughts of what's to come, or what we ate for lunch, or the phone calls we need to make. Ourselves to come back to the circle, our bodies, here, where we've always been. I'd love to just check in and share maybe what that felt like, or an experience we had in our own personal stuff. Thanks, Rafi, for joining us. Yeah. We can popcorn it. Anybody want to share anything?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It just felt like my natural state.
I really liked it because I used to meditate a lot before I had kids, and now it's like when I get that chance, I kind of go right into it, and then it's also, I noticed it like the skateboarders and everything made it like a little bit more difficult to really drop very deeply into it, but it was also where I got was really nice.
You better get through the distractions, but after I did, I went to a place I'm rarely at, you might say. Stopping's not something I usually do. It's rare, but I was glad to do this.
I was really getting there, and Kara's always after me on this. I gotta stop. And I must say I was doing good until all the skateboarders made that racket. But it made me realize I gotta do this more often because it feels good. It really feels good. How about we film you?
Yeah, what you first do.
Yeah,
I don't usually like meditate alone, but I like to. Sometimes I like to be alone, most of the time actually. So it's kind of feel like I'm alone with myself, and I'm thinking, and I enjoy that other people like have the same goal than me, that to be in peace, to connect with the wind. You feel the wind, but you actually you feel it every day, every minute of the day, but you don't actually think about it. Like, oh, I'm breathing, you know what I mean? So it's nice. I have a time to relax and
stress. It's nice.
Yeah, it's for most of my life, I felt this call to stop and to be able to just sit and be. And if we want to call it meditation or prayer, we're welcome to do that. Or it can just be stopping. And I suffered for a long time because I didn't have the discipline to just hone that in myself. And it was really painful. I'd find myself living this life where I'd get up and I'd go and I'd eat the food and get on the computer and go to the work and drive the car, and I'd just find that pattern, and it always felt like, and I spend a lot of time alone. I love to be alone. I'm really good at
yeah, she does.
filling my own cup. And yet, even as I fill my own cup with the writing and the painting and the drawing and the singing and being in community, there was still something that wasn't quite being filled. And so over the past few years, as I've been sinking more into really claiming what I feel are my purpose, is my purpose and my gifts, which I consider myself an interdisciplinary artist, and I'm most passionate about people. And so when I look at the world around me, I recognize that, one, I haven't been alone in my suffering, and that we're all in our place of hurting, of desiring intimacy, desiring connection and contact and communication. I believe that's what drives us to consume, and what drives our illness, which somebody recently pointed out to me, illness and wellness and the roots of those words, and or the first couple letters in each one, and that rise of isolationism, how that creates illness in our society. So as I've been sitting with that and really chewing upon it and seeing not just what's going on in the world around me, but really listening and seeing pop culture and the stories that we're buying and we're being sold about the future and what's to come, I've really just been wanting to sink more into offering, and finding that place within me where there's calm. So even though I experienced the skateboarders, they were just a part of what was going on here. And I'm still at my own place of becoming. I've only really been able to sit and be over the past year. It's really new for me. But I find that it's extremely affected my health and well-being. Most days my vibration is really high. I still make lots of mistakes, and I still will get angry and say things I don't mean. But there's a lot more forgiveness for myself and acceptance of the fact that I'm just human than I've ever had before. And I feel like there is this direct connection between being able to just stop and not feel like the going, the thinking, the ideas, the what comes next, and that's not me. That ability to just, that's something I'm doing in these moments. And so in talking about, again, endurance, so how are we going to endure in these times to come? And I came across a website recently, and it was talking about these 5 key points for what we can do to build the world that we each collectively dream of, and the highest good, working towards the highest good. So it was really great because the 5 points are things that I also espouse and I find really important in my own life. And so I was hoping that we could write down a few of them together. So one of which was to really have an idea of what our individual purpose is, of why we are here now. So I thought maybe we could each take a few minutes to just write down what we feel is our own personal purpose, whether that's what drives you, and I find, just to help, in case anybody needs it, I find that my purpose is having a good sense of what my gifts are. The gifts that I came into this world to offer to this world really help me to figure out my purpose.
Yeah, but it's
A few more minutes. And then finish up your thought. Whatever we write is perfect, no rights or wrongs. Just committing to being here now. Anybody like to share their field of purposes?
Yeah.
Please.
To know myself, to understand the universality of my being, and to facilitate others in the same process.
Anybody else?
Well, mine was, I wrote very shortly, but I feel like I've always been a very curious person and always wanting to learn. And so through my life, I've read and watched and listened and talked and everything. And so part of what I feel like my purpose is to share all the knowledge that I just really go out there searching for with people around me. Because a lot of people I run into, either they aren't as curious as I am, or they just don't have the time or maybe the ability or whatever to read the things. I don't know. But I run across a lot of people who've never heard of a lot of the things I'm talking about. And so it's kind of fun to share that with them. But I also know myself where I don't want to be like a teacher. Like I don't want to be in a position where I'm teaching someone something. I just want more like a communal sharing than like me being your teacher. And then I'm also just a natural organizer, and so I've done a lot of organizing in groups and things, and I really like to create change. Like I hate to see stagnation. I hate to see things just, even if it's like okay the way it is, I feel like it could probably be better. And so there's always room for changing, and so I kind of find myself constantly trying to organize some change.
Simple sentence is all
Can you speak up?
Sorry. A simple sentence is what I got. To grow with, teach, and learn from others. That's it. A little nugget right there.
Having been on this earth almost 3/4 of a century, I started out a lot different. My main purpose was to be a mom, to continue the art of nursing, to help the less fortunate, and really I should be helping others to be more aware of other things besides themselves and consumption. And what Kara has always been after me, I have always been a caregiver, and I have to start taking care of myself. That's a big thing.
I'll get to what I wrote is my purpose is to connect with everyone and everything around me, and in as many moments as are humanly possible, of course, because there are times when I just can't connect, and that's okay. And to express all that I feel, think, sense, and experience in this world, and to empower others to do the same. So this website was saying that in knowing our purpose, it's empowering and liberating. And when we have a sense of what our purpose is, of why we're here, we can move that much more confidently in the world. I've been extremely influenced by the work of Frances Moore Lappé. She wrote, in the late 60s, she dropped out of Cal and she wrote Diet for a Small Planet, and Diet for a Small Planet was revolutionary for the organic food movement. Really blew a hole in the myth of not enough food in the world to feed people. And then she followed that up over the past decade with her daughter. It's called A Hope's Edge. That's the book that really touched me. A Hope's Edge. And I was very fortunate to hear her. I was actually working the booth, so I didn't see her, but I got to hear her speak. She was the keynote presenter at EcoFarm Conference last year. And everything she said just really resonated with me. She talks about she talks about being this culture that's based in a premise of lack, not enough food, not enough money, not enough attention, not enough power, and moving from that to the premise of possibility. And that's where I really personally try to operate from. I believe that where we are, this transformative shift that we are all equally a part of and eager to help continue to galvanize and forward, that transformative shift needs to happen within us, of course, and then with our language and with how we're approaching the movement. So she would also talk about yes and thinking and really yes and. So for me personally, premise of possibility is that every person I see, and some of my friends tell me I'm naive, but I don't care, that everybody I see, we're all leaders. We're all leaders here. And I really envision this movement, whatever we call it, however we continue to move forward, each of us owning our power, owning our strengths as well as our weaknesses, knowing our purpose, and leading, right? In the way that we know how. I can't lead in certain ways, and that's okay. And that's why Marcella's here, and that's why Maria's here, and Jose and Fred and my mother is because we all fill in where we each are left. So I was hoping that we could just write down maybe on wherever you have space, make a list. Let's just make a list for our own personal selves of strengths. What are your strengths? And what are your weaknesses? And this will be for you. We won't have to share these. And you'll notice that I'm sure that your purpose, some of your purpose will fit right in the strengths category. Weaknesses aren't any bashing or negative self-talk. They're just an honest, say that again?
Self-appraisal.
Yeah, honest self-appraisal, yeah. So Marcelo had brought up on the Google group regarding the Cultivating Food Justice Planning Committee. It talked about maintaining momentum throughout the year. And Maria, you mentioned it from last year. You know, we had this great workshop and then the ball gets dropped. And how do we maintain that momentum in our day-to-day? So this website, oh, and speaking of which, now that I've said that, let me send this around. If you could write your name, email address, and the section of town that you live in, that would be awesome. So this website talked about knowing your purpose, and then transmuting fear to love. And that for me is pivotal. In my own personal growth experience, I went through a period where I was paralyzed by my anger and my fear. And I came to the place where I was just suffering because I was suffering due to my own anger and fear. And thinking about people and loving people and really wanting each of us to endure and survive, I've recognized, and especially having worked in the movement, that the only way I'm going to reach people's minds is through their hearts. And so part of the pieces of this working towards a collective highest good is gathering in community, coming together. So I envision, and we're going to talk about this during the keynote, but one vision that I have for San Diego and for all cities around the world would be to have a platform. And again, you know, technology is great because we can really connect, right? It's a meeting point. So to have a platform where we know who we each are and what the work is that we're doing in our communities, we maybe make it really clear what our weaknesses and our strengths are. I'm a great organizer. You got an idea? Let me help you organize it. I'm a great attention. I'll be your channel and bring people to you, whatever that is, but having that meeting place in a platform and then going in and doing the work in our communities where we are. And San Diego, there's 3 million of us. We're all leaders here. There's no reason why we can't be each doing this work in our neighborhoods, on our streets, gathering together. For me personally, since the Cultivating Food Justice Conference, my business partner and I have created a space that we call the Prosperity Hive, and we're working actively with the metaphor of bees, drawing the parallel between Apis mellifera and the state of Homo sapiens sapiens. We are calling prosperity in, so we're saying no mas, basta, enough of the premise of lack, of not enough, and yet reveling in a sickening abundance. So let's find that middle ground of prosperity. And the prosperity, and maybe that's another name for sustainability, who knows, but that's all of us together. It's all of us together. So when her and I moved into our space, all we had was the space, which it's just mainly, it's a studio. It's a dance and yoga studio and community center, we call it, because we're all about gathering the community. But we didn't have a refrigerator, didn't really have much money to work on. Actually, the first event we had, I thought one day, I was like, it was probably about 4 or 5 days before the event, and I was like, where am I going to get the money to buy the food? And it was so beautiful, because Barry Logan, who I was talking about earlier, who is a cherished friend of mine, him and his wife walked into the cafe I was in, and we had a nice conversation, and they're kind of on their way out of town and couldn't make it to the party, but they left, and then he came back in, and I looked at him, and he slipped a $100 bill in my hand. And so it's just, you know, it's that idea of all of us coming together. And the refrigerator came, we built a loft for my partner, my business partner, and I don't have any answers. I'm not going to profess to have any answers. I like solutions, and I'll offer lots of solutions, and I want all of us to be empowered, feel empowered with the tools and the resources to make those offerings, and then also to recognize that each of us, in operating from this heart-centered love space, that yes and thinking. So Jose has this idea, he wants to take over the streets of San Diego, we're going to protest and we're going to march. Yes, and here's what I can offer you, Jose. Here's what I can't right now. Yes, and please do it. I'm there, I'll be there on that day. Marcelo's got an idea for a platform. Yes, and. So enough of the no but, right? Because that's just holding us back. It stymies the process. So how can we support each other? How can we really lift each other up as San Diegans who all have an equal part in our endurance, in our collective survival? Anybody want to give any feedback to those thoughts or ideas?
Well, I think it's all about community, you know, recognizing that this is a special event. People here want to expand outside the normal bounds, and they see the possibility and they're banding together, and they have an awareness of the problems that are holding them back, and they don't feel stuck back because they have one another. And you know, in Argentina, you know, in 2001, when in one night $40 billion were taken out of the economy, you know, in the dead of the night under security and stuff by all the multinational corporations. Within days, people were on the street, in the streets, stoning the banks and, you know, clanking the pots. And in a period of about less than 2 weeks, we went through 3 presidents. I wasn't there, you know, but I saw it happen. And there was this one chant, you know, El pueblo unido jamás será vencido, you know. The people united will never be defeated. And this is what the learning that they're not really wanting us to get, you know. The strength, you know. So long as we're convinced that we're have to choose between the lesser of two evils and that nothing can be done and that it's all in somebody else's hands, you know, that's our reality. But when we band together like this and we go, fuck you, you know, it's like, we're gonna make it happen, we're gonna exchange food, we're gonna go outside the system and the box, and we don't really care what you think about it. It's never been about you or any of that. And, you know, this is where we, like when people get fed up, essentially, when you don't care what you have to lose anymore, you know, it's like that Janis Joplin song, you know, when you got nothing to lose. So to get to that 0 point where you're no longer in fear, when you've had enough of the oppression, where you just don't care, where you see the possibility, and when you band together and you see the strength that you have in the numbers, that is a tipping point, you know. And it's happening worldwide. And America is a complex system because there's this veneer of truth, you know, but underneath it, it's all lies, it's all pretense, and it's all about exploitation. So when you bust through it, and you know, like in the Soviet Union, people had to read between the lines. So when people get hip here to where they start reading between the lines, like they did in the 60s, then it's like the veneer just doesn't hold up, you know. And that's the point that I see people are at. That's the point you have to get to bring about change. Yeah.
Change, if I may. The process of change that I've been going through maybe in the last 7 years, I'm going to use the word evolution. This activist spirit that I've been going through, you might say, started around out of fear and anger. The city, a national city, was thinking about excluding the part of the neighborhood in which my house and 60 other homes were not going to be allowed to be a part of this improvement program they wanted. So they wanted to put condos where we were, and maybe a school at the expense of throwing the people out. And again, fear and anger threw me into local politics, going to a city hall for the first time ever, and getting together with my neighbors, told them to leave us alone, and we won. Then a sense of duty came over me, because I thought, okay, from this moment on, I'm going to keep an eye on my local government as well as world politics and everything else. Oh,
I'll get it.
Sorry, thanks. Thank you, Marcelo. So keep an eye on everything and just become a little community activist and talk to my neighbors at all times, thank you, and keep them abreast and afoot about what's going on. Then, around 08, a little before, I decided, well, I'm going to make connections with stuff that I've always wondered about, like anti-war movements, and Prop 8 came along. When that thing passed, I decided this wasn't just right. I mean, let's see, a group of people had the right, then they don't. Had it, then they don't. Just was right. Thought I wanted to help out. There's a good little state ally here and there. So, got all these buttons. As you can see, I joined up with this group. Same And this marriage equality thing became a cause I fell in love with, you might say. I just wanted to see this wrong righted, and for this group making more connections. It's not fear and anger anymore. I got something to look forward to. I could think of a world that can actually change instead of just keeping the chaos away. It's more like bringing growth instead now. I can feel that that's been happening with much more now than ever before. Again, an evolution, you might say, it's been happening lately. Hope for more.
Next.
It's funny because when I start talking about this, I find myself going to like negative places in like my history. You know, it's like all the rallies I've attended that didn't make any change and were seriously under attended. And like I went to, before the Iraq War ever started, I was 250,000 strong up in San Francisco. I was marching, and it still started. And then a year later I was marching, and another one. A year later I was marching. About year 4, I was like, I even lost interest, to be perfectly honest with you. And it's hard, throughout my life, I'm always trying to get people to like come with me to events like this. I put it out there, I put it all over Facebook, I tell everybody I know. I saw one person that I invited. And so part of it for me is like, I have conversations with people, and every time I have a personal conversation with someone, we get to a point where I feel like they really get that what we're doing as a human race on the planet is not sustainable, in that if we continue the way it is, we're going to live on a planet that is poisoned and full of toxic waste and, can't feed us anymore, and everything's, dead and dying. And yet still, I feel like a lot of the people I know are kind of environmental, and they try to do all these different things, and they eat organic and da-da-da, and still like we go to the birthday parties and still somehow there's a bunch of like plastic crap from China in a goodie bag for your kid, and it's just like, somewhere there's a disconnect, and I'm not sure. And even in myself, like, it's easy to not be sustainable. It's easy to not, like, because there's a mainstream pushing you, and when you're fighting to like not get sucked into that mainstream, you're constantly struggling, and after a while, like, you get tired, and it's like you just kind of want to rest and be, and you kind of get sucked in there, and then somehow you have to find your way back out of the stream that sucked you in. And so I don't know, I'm constantly kind of walking that tightrope of like, I want to do this, I'm doing it, I'm making strides, and then kind of get knocked off, and then I gotta climb back up and get back on there again. But it's worth it, and I keep going. I'm never going to stop, and it's frustrating, too, to just, like, you're in a moment, and this is a moment, and everybody's here, and do it, and then everybody walks away, and it's like, it never happened.
Was that the workshop I was in where I passed the email list around? Was that one of the first ones?
Well, it was last year.
At
the sustainability workshop last year.
And there were like seats or something, like children's seats, and
we were at the college, and we were all around in a circle in the classroom.
Yeah, I remember that's what inspired me to do something this year, because I thought Mel would do something with the list, but all he really did, because he was one of the organizers, is he gave it to some lady, in something. It just basically got lost.
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
And I was very upset, and that's why this year I didn't want to let that happen.
Well, I'll take responsibility for that, because that was my workshop. The one that Maria is speaking of specifically.
I don't think, I was in a different one.
Okay, well, I'll take responsibility for mine, and I'll definitely say, and my mother can attest this, that one of my weaknesses is I can be extremely irresponsible, and so I feel that community, I'm always pushing, I want to hold each other to higher standards. I want to have checks and balances where Jose is like, yo, Kara, you said you'd do this, and it's Tuesday, you said you'd have it Friday, and really hold each other those high standards. And it's not personal. Like, you can tell me anything, honestly, and I'll more than likely agree with you. Or even if it's not my fault, I'll just say, okay, I'm sorry, move on. So I really want us to empower each other and to create these communities where we have checks and balances on one another, where we are really having honest dialogue and communication, which isn't comfortable at times. Times it's not comfortable. If you're calling me out of my shit, you know, it might be uncomfortable at times for me. And so how can we create this like safe network where we're just holding each other up? And there are times when, guess what, we need to rest. We need to just drop out, because that's the way we take care of ourselves. And ideally, sustainability, you know, it's a heart, and a heart beats. It contracts, it expands. It contracts, it expands. That is life at its finest. It's universal motion as we know it. So anything we create together should have that same motion. And it should have people coming in and out, lots of different types of people, and not the same people holding it over and over again.
Yeah, what I found works best for me is to not be on my own doing something, because then I feel overwhelmed and uninspired, and you know, and it's like I prefer working with somebody else, so that it's you're co-doing something. It's a whole different energy, and you feel far more supported. It's a lot easier to do things. It's a lot more fun, and then you also have the checks and balances as well. It's not just you carrying the entire ball. So I think that's key in terms of organizing and things. I guess that's going to happen to this. And you're going to also be part of that dialogue at the group thing. And that's a lot easier, because then, you know, it's like while she's fielding questions or something, then I can get epiphanies or see things that, you know, I wouldn't see if I'm just on the spot all the time. So I think it's much better working at least in couples, if not in groups, than alone. I think doing it alone, you know, is bullshit.
I really want to come back to something that you touched upon, Maria. You know, what's really exciting and palpable about now, and Jose, I know you'll totally feel me on this, is that, you know, she has risen. Like, the Divine Feminine has risen again, and history is over. Love you guys, but his story is over. Her story has begun, as I say, but the best thing of all of her story is it's our story. It's all of us together. It's not one over the other. With that being said, there is this collective call to lead from more of the Divine Feminine versus the Divine Masculine. I think it's a union of the two, don't get me wrong, but because it's been such an imbalance of the force, right? Force against nature, forcing our way, the pinpointed, like, my way or the highway. So I try to lead from listening. I just try to listen. I listen to the universe a lot. So I'm on the computer. I prefer not to have a cell phone. And then I go and I sit in trees, and I'm in a park, and I'm trying to connect to something that's bigger than myself and just be a channel where I'll receive synchronicity. You know, all of a sudden the same people are popping up in my world. There's a reason for that. What's that about? And so I'm trying to listen and then respond quicker. So, oh look, here there is this same organization that's come up again and again. Let me go find out, what is this about? And I'm really not trying to force anymore. I'm trying to just move, so hone my own natural rhythms again, where I wake up on my own. Now I'm flowing with the earth and where it's telling me to go. I'm not fighting against it. And I'm trying to listen, respond to that, and flow with that versus against it. So there's definitely action that's a part of that, and there is this simultaneous being, because the Prosperity Hive is a beehive, and I like to say just be or being, and balancing that with doing and with action. But it's this give and take and this equal flow, and I don't at all mean to you know, I want the Divine Masculine to rise as well, and that we haven't seen that. We have not seen the Divine Masculine in history, and now is such an exciting time. And it's not even about gender when I'm saying these words, it's about harnessing it inside of us, because we all are divine, with the feminine and the masculine, and finding that balance in us, because there are times for me to just be in that tree and receive, and then there are times for me to be out and connecting and trying, and you know, connecting people, because I want things to happen. I want us to work towards the higher good. So finding that balance, that flow in each of us, and then operating from there, I really feel that, you know, that's where we are today, and it's so beautifully exciting. So I'd like to just invite us to do one more thing before we depart. part and move on. Could we each write maybe, let's make, I was thinking of a commitment to whatever you want to commit to over the next year. And we can check in with each other with this list, and then Marcelo and I, I'm sure, will address this later in the closing event. But let's make an intention. So over the next year, something you intend personally, something that you'll work towards for, I know sustainability didn't resonate, so let's just say like the collective highest good?
The collective what?
Highest good. Or prosperity.
So write down what form our commitment to the collective highest good would take.
Yeah. Thank you. One more minute.